Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. I'm here with Rob Henderson, and we're here to talk about Succession season four, episodes 2 through 4. And so, major spoiler. These things always have spoilers, but major spoiler this time. Season 3, we saw Logan Roy pass. What did you think, Rob? What did you think about Logan's death?
I thought it was very unexpected, right? I don't think anyone anticipated he would die so soon in the season, so early. I mean, episode he died in episode 3. Um yeah, I mean they've sort of the whole series has been an interesting, like, there's been this question mark around Logan Roy's health, right? So season 1, the whole season was about, like, Logan nearly died, and then Kendall was set to take over, and then Logan, like, makes this miraculous recovery. Even, I think the actor even loses weight. Like, I watched an episode from season 1 recently, and Brian Cox, the actor, is, like, noticeably heavier in season 1 than than in the following season. So he looks like a little bit thinner, a little bit healthier. And then, there's I think was it the very first scene of the entire series, you see Logan urinating in, like, a closet or something. So he's
Yeah,
clearly, like, has these sort of dissociative episodes. I don't know if he's dementia or Alzheimer's or what, but he's kind of losing his grip on reality. And then I guess maybe this is, like, kind of how realistic it is that, like, when someone's that old, like, I've known elderly people who have died that way, where, like, they seem kind of okay. They have these moments where they kind of come in and out of lucidity, and then one day it's just like they're gone. And I thought that was, like, a pretty realistic depiction of what it was like. Um, but yeah, I thought the episode, it's called yeah, like, Connor's wedding, which I thought
yeah.
was nice, sort of
You
diversion
can't
tactic.
spoil it. You can't call it Logan's death, right? People are like,
But
what
Connor's
the
wedding is, like, it's so, which is, like, maybe there's, like, a sort of a playfulness there, because, like, Connor is such a like a minor 2-bit character. But
yeah.
if you say it's Connor's wedding, it's like, who cares?
Well,
Like,
that
it's his
was
wedding.
episode 3, and then episode 4 is honeymoon state. So it's just because Connor said, we're going to go to the honeymoon states of Michigan, Wisconsin,
The
Pennsylvania.
swing states.
He's trying to
Yeah.
win the swing states, which he's not been. I don't know why, like, the swing states have any relevance to him, but he's going to those states. And so, yeah, this, like, it's like playfulness. It's like 2 straight episodes of, like, Connor, who's like, I mean, the whole series, he's sort of. Oh, and episode 2, by the way, was rehearsal, and so that was also
Mm.
about Connor. Episode 2 was called rehearsal, so it was the wedding rehearsal, and then it's
Oh,
the Connor's wedding, and then it's honeymoon states. And episode 1 was called the monsters. What was the
the
monsters?
Munst
That
the
referred to what?
Munsters. That okay? Yeah,
I
we
think,
talked about that one. That was Logan. He calls
yeah,
everyone the Munsters at his birthday
yeah,
party,
yeah.
referring to
So
that old Adams Family cartoon. Yeah.
right, so we have 3 episodes now of, like, focused on Connor and his wedding when he's not that important, but he's like, this is him the entire series. He's the fourth child, and he just the oldest, and he doesn't matter. I mean, he's just such, like, a clownish figure,
He's an
and like.
afterthought. Yeah.
Exactly. He's not in the room. I mean, he should have, like, legal rights. I don't know why he's, like, not even on the board or anything. Like, he doesn't seem to have any. He's, like, just doesn't have, like, a share
I
or
don't think
anything.
he has the interest in it. Yeah, he's an interesting character, right? Because, like, Logan wants killers. He wants, he doesn't respect people unless they have that sort of raw ambition. And I guess the idea is that Connor is kind of seen as a bumbling doofus, but he's also running for president, which I guess indicates some level of ambition. But he's also, like, treated as an unserious person. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
that's an
but
interesting.
it's like,
Yeah, there's
yeah,
something there. Yeah, the relationship there that
right.
Logan clearly doesn't think of Connor as,
Yeah.
a particularly impressive son.
Right. So he accepts so I think this is part of him being, like, a person disconnected from reality. Like, he has, like, a realistic shot of, like, running this company if he wants it because it's his dad. He could, try to make moves or try to do something, but he doesn't do that. And then just says, "I'm going to be president of the United States." Right. So I think the idea is, like, this guy is such a larper. Right. He's such, like, a fake.
Yeah,
He's not interested in, like, with opportunities in front of him. He just wants to do something completely made up. Just blows all his money getting 1% in the presidential election, uh, and that's it, right? So I think it
yeah.
says something about sort of his character.
He's also, yeah, he moved away, right? He didn't even live in New York. Didn't he live in Arizona or something? He lived out in that, like, ranch or something. And he has his curiosities, like his, he collects random items.
Yeah,
and yeah, he's kind of an odd figure. But even in the episode of Logan's death, Connor's wedding, that episode, all three of the central Roy kids are, like they're talking to Tom on the phone about what's going on with Logan on the jet and trying to keep up with it. And like, I think is it Kendall that's the first one to hear about it? Is that right? Is it Kendall
Yeah,
first? Then he retrieves Shiv and Roman. And then, like, even as the viewer, you don't even think about Connor, right? Like, it's the episode is called Connor's Wedding. It didn't even occur
yeah,
to me that, like, why aren't they getting Connor? Shouldn't he be
yeah,
involved? Like, he was
yeah,
like, only after like 15 or 20 minutes had passed in the episode, they finally grabbed Connor and they told him what was going on. And he seemed to accept it, right? Like, he didn't get mad, like, because I think it was pretty clear that the three of them, the Shiv, Roman, and Kendall, were all like, together, like talking through what was going on with Logan's health. And Connor saw this and presumably was aware of it. He didn't even get upset that they left him out of this conversation. He's just like constantly being shut out and doesn't seem to phase him.
yeah. So yeah, we talk about Connor, but yeah, going back to the Logan's death. There was a different way to do this, and I think the conventional way to have him die would be us to like watch him die. Right? We don't see him. We
Mm,
don't see anything that happens. We see him going to death. Maybe we see him, keel over and like grab his chest or something. It doesn't happen. The whole thing is like his last words or like what he was doing or like, it's a complete black box to us. Like we'll never get
mm,
those answers. We'll get like rumor and innuendo and we get like sort of what's going on around that with the people on the plane. And we get the Roy children. But I think I like this because this is how people die, right? It's not like, somebody passes, you don't like get to see you don't always get to see like exactly what's happening. And so, like, we
mm.
don't know. Was he on the toilet? Was he like, at one point, I don't know if he's joking or not, but Tom says to Greg, he was flushing his phone out of the toilet. Did you see
Yeah,
this? He whispers to him, and
yeah,
it could be true, or it could be just he's screwing with Greg, like like Tom often
yeah,
does. Um,
yeah.
and he says he hasn't taken a dump in 20 years. Who was it? Was that the Tom said, or was that one of them said that? He's
I,
like, oh,
I
and he
think Tom said that.
yeah,
Tom said
as
it
he
was like a
finally, yeah, so it's like
lifetime of Wonder Bread and
yeah, yeah, steak fries, yeah.
steak
Uh,
frites. Yeah.
and we don't know. I mean, we don't know if he's joking. We don't know if he's serious. And it just sort of he
Even as the
passes.
viewer, you're not sure, right? Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
there's a moment where, because it's Tom, right? Like, we know that Tom and Logan are sort of on the same team. Tom betrayed Shiv to work for Logan, and because you don't actually see Logan during like the first few scenes in which Tom is on the phone telling all the Roy kids that Logan is sort of breathing his last breaths, some part of me at least was wondering, like, is this just another ruse, right? Because the beginning of the episode, you see Logan screwing with Roman, right? Where like he's telling Roman, like, I don't think we need Jerry anymore, and like I think you should be the one to fire her.
He's not screwing
And I
with
know
him.
you
He's
two
just
have.
he's firing Jerry. Well, how was that screwing
Yeah,
with him?
I think, but he chose Roman for a reason, right? Like, he wants to, like, because he knows like Roman has a history with Jerry, so he
Mhm.
chooses Roman to do that, like, in order to sort of get inside. And we see this later in the episode where Roman calls his last words to his father. He leaves that voicemail of like, like, why are you making me do this? Like, why are you treating me this way? Like, I don't know if this is like another one of your games.
Oh
Um,
yeah, and he
and
and he
and
doesn't
then
and he doesn't know if he ever heard it. Like he
yeah,
asks,
he
did
doesn't
he check?
know.
He asks
Yeah.
somebody at some point, and he
Yeah,
just
did he
doesn't
listen to
know.
his voicemail? Yeah, and so like that's the beginning of the episode, is like Rogan sort of back up to his old tricks, like kind of playing divide and conquer with the kids and with, the other people in his media empire. And so then, anyway, so then, yeah, when Tom calls him, he's like, yeah, it's not looking good with Logan. And a part of me was like, is Logan like testing them or messing with them, or is this just Tom on his own, like trying to? Is this like a gambit? Is this like some kind of a bid for some kind of psychological advantage?
Yeah,
And it's very like half the episode, or at least like a third of the episode, I wasn't even sure if that was really happening, if Logan was really
you thought he
suffering
was like
from
pretending to be
or
dead to like screw.
well,
I
because you
didn't.
don't see him, right? Like, you don't actually see him until like, even when they're pressing on his chest, they don't actually show Logan's
What do you think? What do you
body.
think was going? But then, what do you think is going on? Like he's fooling everyone. He's just like playing dead.
No, no, no. It could. Well, it could have even not been Logan, right? Like I'm not sure how the show could have done this. Like it could have been someone else in poor health. Like you just don't see him, right? Like I think this was an
I thought like one
intentional
of the other old
move.
guys, they were, but it's a small play. You think they got like
It
confused and thought it was like
it
another
could
old
have
guy,
no no no
and
no
Logan was just. You thought Tom was
so one way
created?
to do this was that like one of the other old guys, Frank or whatever, he
Uh,
passes out. Then Tom gets the idea. Well, I guess it wouldn't work because he's like publicly walking around talking about it. But like
yeah.
he passes out, and then Tom gets the idea of like, oh, like what if he cooks up some plan where he calls the kids and decides like actually no, it's Logan the one who's having the heart problem or whatever, and is using this to like gain some advantage or extract information from them or something.
Hmm.
um yeah, it wasn't like they didn't show, right? Like they didn't show, like you said, they didn't show Logan like fall to the ground or have difficulty breathing or anything.
Yeah.
And
But I
they didn't show until later.
yeah, I saw it. Yeah, I had a friend who sort of spoiled the episode for me. I'll tell you why. She goes, and this is funny because she's trying not. She knows I hate spoilers. She goes, "You're gonna want to watch Succession tonight because it's gonna be hard to like avoid discussion of it if you don't." And I'm like,
Yeah, you
okay,
sent me
I
a
gotta go
message
watch
about
it.
that.
And then as soon as they
Yeah.
call, I know that Rogue Logan's gonna die because I know
Oh,
that's what's
really?
happening. Yeah, because she told me
Oh,
like it's gonna be hard to avoid. What's gonna be so big that it's gonna be hard to avoid discussion about it the next day, right? So like people
so
see
you
people
knew
all
that?
over.
Interesting. Okay, I
Yeah.
didn't. When you sent me that mess, I
Oh,
didn't
I
think
said it, and then
about
I
that.
passed it on to you. That's okay.
Yeah.
You
That
didn't know
didn't
that.
come to
Okay.
mind. I
Uh,
mean, I guess that would be the
yeah.
obvious, but there could have been a lot of I mean, yeah, I guess that it's not really a show that has like big twists and turns or big surprises. Like what is like so like the day after I watched the episode, like I waited like 3 days and then I tweeted something like, like rest in peace to like a great character or something like that. And then people started commenting, what about spoilers? And I'm thinking like what's the grace period for spoilers now? Because like in the
Yeah.
age of social media, of like instant access to all of our shows, I think like 2 3 days is like pretty generous. I didn't even
What did you
specify who
tweet?
it was.
Did you say it was about the show? Or did you say it was
I think I said something like watch the latest episode of Succession, rest in peace to
oh,
a
that's
great
a very big
character.
spoiler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know.
There's a
3
grace period. Yeah.
days.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I don't know. What's
there's
the
I think there is some grace. Like I don't know. Like I feel bad. Like even like giving away Breaking. Like if I'm in the middle of this podcast, I gave away what happened in Breaking Bad. Like
really?
I would feel bad
Nah.
because people just discover things at like different points in time. Like I didn't discover Sopranos for 10 years, and I knew the ending because the ending of the Sopranos was like I remember Jay Leno making jokes about it. It was like everywhere in the culture. So I watched the Sopranos, and I knew the whole time like sort of exactly what would happen at the end. I still really enjoyed it, but I wonder what it would have been like to watch it without that. Um, but
Huh,
yeah, I mean,
interesting.
I have a friend actually, that friend who like went out of her way not to spoil for me. She like doesn't mind spoilers, and I just found this like to be the most foreign way of thinking imaginable. She's like, "Oh, that makes me enjoy it more." I'm like, "You're crazy. I don't. I like we just don't consume art in the same way."
I think it can be enjoyable both ways. I mean, if you know how it's going to end, like each interaction means something different in a way because it's all sort of like where each scene is leading to and how the story is building up. I mean, it's enjoyable in a different way. I think like generally I'm with you that I
You
don't
know,
like spoilers, but even if I do hear them, I don't think it completely
yeah.
spoils my
Well, I get that on
experience
the
of it.
second thing. It's like history, right? It's like, okay, if I could tell you right now what's going to happen in like 2028 presidential election, right? Another 5 years out, it's like you'll see confirmation bias in
Yeah.
everything, right? Part of the fun of life is like, okay, there's this one moment like, is Russia going to invade Ukraine or not? Like trying to like understand like where people are and trying to get like good histories, like trying to get before World War I, get World War II, and just to sort of watch it like with the sort of ending in mind, it's a completely different experience. Maybe some ways it's better because you see things that you wouldn't have otherwise seen and you picked up on it. But I think the best thing, like if something's a really good show, is to get both, is to get the surprise, like you're in the moment. Like, it's cool that we have like these predictions on the record, like after season 3, like we have these like ideas of like what could happen, and now we're here, and now we're in a new reality. But yeah, it's you're right. It doesn't completely ruin it. I mean, always, but no. I mean, I think that's like sort of the pure essence of sort of watching a show. And what do you think about? Do you have thoughts on like watching a show? Like sometimes we do things that's like a decade old, and then sometimes we do a thing that's like very current, like this. Do you have do you have like an opinion? Does that change the experience for you?
Like if I know something's older, does it change
Yeah,
my
or if you're
opinion of
watching
the
with
story?
like everyone else at the same
Oh,
time.
interesting. Not really. I think now there's just so much content out there. Like watching, like yeah, like we've done all these episodes on, or yeah, episodes on Deadwood, and people have been telling me to watch that show for over a decade, and yeah, finally getting around to it. I don't think like yeah, I think I would have enjoyed it just as much as if it were just released now episode by episode.
Mm,
There's just yeah, there's a lot of good content out there now that it's yeah, you can go back and rewatch these things. Like there are a lot of people now who haven't watched like classics. I mean, yeah, there's just like a lot of young people haven't they haven't watched The Sopranos, for example. Like I still like tell people will tell me like, oh, I watched The Sopranos because I saw you tweet something about it. And I'm like, how have you not seen The Sopranos? But a lot of people out there haven't seen like a lot of this stuff. So no, I think it's like it's worth it now to like go back and rewatch and sort of rediscover these things, which in that case it kind of makes sense. I think what you're saying about spoilers, like there is a in a weird way, like the grace period may be more important for current shows that everyone's watching in the moment.
yeah.
uh yeah, I don't know. Yeah, spoiling older stories I don't feel quite as bad about, but I understand
No.
like why people would be upset.
Spoil like Romeo and Juliet. Right? I was
Yeah,
watching an
yeah, if you
old
spoil that.
yeah, I once when I was in law school, I was really big basketball fan, and then I watched the Jordan when he scored 63 points. It was a playoff record at the time. I don't know if it's still the playoff record against the Celtics in like '88, and like my friend would like mention like in passing before I watch it, oh, it went to overtime, and I'm like, you spoiled the game for me, and then someone else
Yeah.
like, he's your mad because a 20 someone told you a 20-year-old basketball game, 15-year-old basketball game went to overtime. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, you
that's
can't.
pretty
Yeah, that
silly.
doesn't make sense to get like, yeah, it doesn't get, yeah, to get upset over those things. But yeah, I mean, yeah, now that we're in a world where like all of this content is out there, like easily accessible, yeah, yeah, it's like you want to be polite, I guess, and like let people enjoy these things. I
Yeah,
mean, it's weird though because like even if you know the ending to something, it can still be spoiled, like the like how they get there, right? Like if you say like, at some point Logan's gonna die, that's kind of a spoiler. But then like how he dies and the circumstances around it and how people react to it and all of those things, like that makes it interesting too. Um, like there's
yeah.
another like there's like this episode's gonna be full of spoilers, but like Shiv is pregnant, right? Like that's also kind of an interesting plot twist
Yeah,
because she didn't want to.
we should talk
Yeah.
about that. But I'll say one more thing about the Logan death. Yeah, I mean it's something I think they did something very unique because we talked about and when we were talking about Deadwood, like which character would you be surprised if they died before the end of the show, right? And in this one,
Hmm.
even though like we should talk about this Michelle Goldberg piece. Did you read this? I think I sent it to you.
I read it. Yeah.
Yeah, she says, everyone like the show is called Succession, so we always like sort of knew Logan would die, and I'm like, I didn't know that. Like,
I didn't know
it's about the
either.
succession battle. It doesn't mean he has to die. He could like live and like she said, just fire all his kids and get rid of them. Right? There was no reason that there actually had to be a succession.
Or it
It
could have
could
been like
be
a tongue in cheek,
exactly,
like you
yeah,
think there's a succession, but there's not, or
or
yeah.
it's yeah, exactly, or it could be that he doesn't have to die. He could leave, like, and do something else, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, so yeah, they did something unique. I mean, like a third of the way through the final season, right? You have 3/4 of a season or something, without the main character.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. There's gonna be a lot of sort of mind space that used to be uh, taken up by Logan. That is, he's no longer gonna be there. Um,
Yeah, I don't think the show's gonna be. I mean, it's hard for me to believe the show's gonna be as good now. I think Logan was one of the most interesting characters on television.
yeah,
Um, and like the show could have like they could have kept going with like his. I mean, well, I did. I think I sent you this. There was an interview with the creator of the show, and he said, like this story, like this is the final season of this story, but he's open to spin-offs and like possibly exploring this universe in a different context. And I think like a prequel story of like a mini series of like Logan's rise to power would be amazing.
yeah,
Um, but yeah,
that
like
would be.
having him like gone for like the next there's like 7 more episodes with no Logan. I don't know, like can Kendall and these guys, can they really carry this show in the same way? Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
not. Yeah.
it's interesting. I mean, they gave a lot of time to Frank and Carolina and Carl. First of all, it's amazing how white these characters are. I was like, this we did not see this in a show in 2023, right? Like the entire board is all white, right? Except for
Yeah,
one Middle Eastern guy who's not there. He's not the inner circle. The inner circle is
Stewie.
Jerry, Carolina, Frank, and Carl, and plus the boy children. And I think you can only do this, I guess, because they're conservatives. I guess that they're bad people. But even like that, you wouldn't see that in most shows. They would still throw like a token black guy and a token this and a token that. It's actually
That's a
refreshing
good
because
point.
it's
Interesting. Yeah, they
refreshing
don't.
because it's like whenever there's like a guy who's like a different minority, like I end up focusing on that because it's like, especially like a black person, it's like, oh, they can't portray him as like this. He can't, like, nobody can be that rude to him. He can't be portrayed as dumb, right? He can't be portrayed. So it's like it is a thing where like the affirmative action seeps into like every part of the story just because we have all these hangups on race. Like a Middle Eastern guy, like a finance, but like we don't have like big like sensitivities about that. Well, he could be like a an Arab sheikh or something, but that's not, doesn't seem like that's what's going on. And so like that's fine. I mean, he's not even that big of a deal anyway. Um,
yeah.
and so it was like sort of like, wow, you can just
And there's
have
only
Carolina
one woman,
in
right? Like
character.
Jerry is the
Carolina,
only
Carolina's
woman.
a big deal, isn't she?
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's true. She has some power in the organization. Yeah, Carolina. I mean,
But
I
like
think
these two old
Jerry. Well,
guys,
Jerry
Frank
was
and
the
Carl,
interim CEO. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Frank and Carl, like those are like like when
two
you picture
old
that
white
world.
guys in business. Like that's like in the real world that happens all the time, and in modern
Yeah,
TV, no, it's like a very rare thing.
yeah. Like it's a very realistic show in that sense that it accurately portrays like the like socio demographics of like that slice of America without like any kind of guilt or irony. I mean, I guess there's a bit of irony, right? That famous scene we've talked about where Greg like does his little
Yeah.
sensitivity training
Yeah,
and
that was
looks
the
around
show
and it's
doing the
all white people.
penance for the whole thing. They were just like like asking
Yeah,
for
they're like,
forgiveness.
yes, we
And
understand, like,
then,
and they don't, yeah, they don't bother with it. I mean, yeah, the race and the genders. I mean, even I think like was there a comment around, uh, so in the latest episode, Roman and Kendall both become the co-CEOs, right? And they kind of gently push Shiv out and they tell her, she'll still retain power, but she won't have the title. And Shiv is pregnant now, and she pushes Tom away, and she even makes this. So Kendall says like we need to look strong, like we need, I think it's better if Roman and I do this.
yeah,
And she said like, oh, am I not strong? Like I'm gonna have like my like mascara stained or like yeah like my mascara running down my cheeks. Is that not something like that? Like make some kind of remark about like how
yeah.
it's whatever like misogynistic or sexist for her not to be included. And I wonder if like the show is trying to like yeah make this subtle kind of commentary on this that like it really is a boys network and like Shiv can't even
But then she
you
proves them
know
right. She does cry. She does cry and have a
she does
breakdown, and then fall, and then yell at
and
that
she falls.
handicapped guy, like stop smiling. That one guy who's like his face is like frozen from a
Yeah.
stroke.
Yeah. That was okay. Yeah, that's true. And she's yeah. That's a good yeah. That's true. But the two yeah. So the two brothers are like and they're the only ones that actually had any serious involvement in Waystar Royco, right? Like even though they're considered like kind of there's a lot of they're treated as somewhat unserious, like a lot of nepotism, especially with Roman. Although he's shown some capabilities too, but Shiv, like I don't think Logan really ever took Shiv seriously probably because she's his daughter, right? Like he played that game with her where he said he was going to name her as his successor, and then like like didn't. And yeah, I don't think
Yeah, is
she was
that the?
ever
I mean,
seriously in the running. Logan
is
has
that the
his,
only?
he's like
Is
he's
that the only
conservative.
reason? Because I mean, he like trusts Jerry, right? I mean, he lets Jerry rise. Is it just he might see something in Shiv that is not, uh, you know, that is not the right material?
Well, she doesn't hold his politics either, right? Like she's sort of
Yeah,
the token Democrat in the family, and that's kind of how they were able to win over the Pierce family and buy them out, or at least attempt to. Um, so yeah, maybe
yeah.
there's like a couple of between like being a woman and being a Democrat, Logan held some reservations, but then like it's never really clear how yeah like whether like how serious were Logan's political commitments, because when they're doing the eulogy in this latest episode, who is it that like the Connor calls him, they're trying to make, they're trying to make
Narco
that into
libertarian. Yeah,
like a neocon, and
yeah,
the guy who's reading the eulogy is some kind of a right-wing libertarian something, and he's talking about how, Logan Roy was he was an iconic fixture in the conservative movement, blah blah blah. And like, he looked like, I've been at, I'm sure you've been at events like that too. It's just like he looks the part, the glasses, the, everything
yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
And but was Logan Roy like, was he really like philosophically, or like did he have deep thoughts about politics? Did he have a political philosophy, or was he just like, I'm a capitalist who wants to win?
No, he had I mean, I think he's like normal people, a lot of normal people, like his audience probably. Like he just has instincts that like the political correctness is stupid. Like men and women are different. Like the market is good. Like these climate activists and such are losers. Like I think that these are genuinely held beliefs. Now he's not like a principled guy who's gonna like go down for his beliefs or anything like that. But no, he does. I think he does like embody sort of the worldview of his network.
Yeah, but I wonder, like, at least my impression of like liberal elites is that like Nan Pierce or something, like they would at least make the attempt to like read John Rawls,
Yeah, of
or
course.
like they would do their duty and like read Ibram X. Kendi, or
Yeah.
whatever, what's her name, Robin DiAngelo or something. Um, Whereas Logan Roy, I don't see him like reading Edmund Burke, or
He
like,
reads
reading Robert
biographies. He
Nozick.
likes war. He talks about history. He talks about a history. So he likes like biographies of like major generals and stuff
Okay.
like that. Yeah,
So it's
I
a,
will.
it's a sort of a more concrete feeling of like he likes that sort of like reality based, not like the sort of abstract, theoretical, intellectual stuff, which I think like makes sense as
Oh,
a,
by the
yeah.
way, I did watch an earlier episode. He mentioned he said he said I used to read he used to say somebody used to read to me or he used to read to
Was
somebody
this
like history.
Spangler?
Yeah, he said Spengler, and he said he might have said Gibbon, right? I
Oh,
think
the
he might have
Roman
mentioned Gibbon.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. So these are like Spengler is a pretty I don't know. I've never read Spengler, but my understanding he's like the people who like him tend to be like basically fascists. He's not like a
I think he
libertarian
was
like the
like a
American. Yeah,
fascist. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. He's
I mean,
not
he
like
had
a
like his
libertarian.
theory.
Yeah, he's not like a libertarian in the American tradition, but I don't think that's like a serious. I don't think like that's a serious. It's just like he likes history, and somebody mentioned Spengler as like a right wing thinker, and he just liked Spengler,
Yeah.
and so yeah, I mean he has a he has a I think it's right to say he has a philosophy. He's probably not into like I don't know like I think when you get into the libertarian stuff like Hayek and like Milton Friedman, it's sort of very abstract. It's like, oh, central planning has these issues, has this information problem. It's a very abstract thing that appeals to nerds. And Logan
Yeah.
probably likes like the social Darwinist, like kind of competitive like feel of capitalism. And he's
Survival of the fittest, winner takes all. And he
exactly,
wouldn't
yeah.
even like, he wouldn't quote like Adam Smith, right? Like he wouldn't be, yeah, that, well, so I'm thinking of like, I think like broadly on the right, this is like, there is this sort of strain of anti-intellectualism. Like somehow this came across my feed of, do you remember like George Bush during the primaries? George W. Bush, they asked him, who's your favorite political philosopher? And he said, Jesus Christ, because he
Yeah,
changed
yeah.
my heart.
Yeah.
And then Trump, right? Like,
And then
can
Trump
you
just
imagine
busts
asking
it.
Trump
Yeah.
his favorite political philosopher? Like that would be, but I mean, I guess like someone like DeSantis, or Vivek, right? Like these
Well,
guys would probably have some.
Trump would say his favorite book is the Bible, and then they would say, and then I remember being early in the primary, they asked him like which part, and he's like, "Oh, it's all good. It's all just so excellent."
It's all of it is my favorite. Yeah. Like it's just harder, it seems, to win on the right if you're seeing like there's like well, you've read about it, right? Like there's a suspicion of the written word. It's an oral culture, the conservatives. It's an
Yeah,
oral
written word
based.
that's it's particularly written word that's new. It's there's not they're not reading a lot of new it's like this thing. Oh,
Yeah.
given like Spengler, I think Nassim Nicholas Taleb would say the stuff is Lindy. Like he would say the books that have survived a long time are better than the
Okay.
new stuff.
Yeah.
Uh,
Although Logan is not a dumb person, right? He's not even anti. Well, maybe I guess he would probably harbor some like, some like negative feeling toward like just someone who like an like a professor or something, like a philosophy professor. Like, I don't know if he would like, hanging out with them
but the
much.
kids didn't
But a
like.
history professor, right? Like he would like historians,
Yeah,
Logan,
but the
right? Like
kids
he'd
don't
hang out
like
with
that part.
historians.
Like the kids, remember the kids they were mocking from the Pierce family, that guy who got his Africana, it's like fourth
Yeah,
PhD or
PhD.
something
I
or whatever
remember
it
that.
was, and they were
Yeah.
like even Shiv like thinks that's funny. So like these academic liberal types are
Oh,
really
that's
disconnected.
right. And Shiv is like the liberal of the family. They never
Yeah,
made clear where the kids went. The only person we know for certain where they went was Kendall. He went to Harvard, but the other two we don't really know. Like Shiv, she could have, I guess, maybe gone to like Swarthmore or like one of these sort of fancy liberal arts colleges. But yeah, yeah, the kids don't really have this. You never really see them like debating deep issues or something. Um, and even Shiv doesn't really have like serious principles, right? Because she betrayed the Bernie Sanders doppelganger to go work for her father, right? And
but
that was Logan's whole
but I
ploy.
think she never agreed with the Bernie Sanders. I think she was like a moderate Democrat from the start, so she was always fighting with that Bernie
Yeah,
Sanders guy. Um,
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I mean. This is one of the things I love about the show. This is our previous conversations. It's like it really is like it shows you sort of conservatives and like what the sort of and liberals, but like conservatives and like who what the media people and the influencers are like, and like what the relationship, because there's a serious ideological uh force on the horizon, right? I told you the election's coming up, and like so Mencken
You think
arrives.
this Menken's gonna win? Yeah,
Mencken arrives now, and we don't see him in this episode, but he's gonna come up to the apartment. That's what's gonna happen in the next episode, and he may win the election, and it's like okay, now sort of the ideology is like sort of like I think at this point the ideology, and I guess this maybe backs up what I'm saying. It's like the ideology was sort of seen as a plaything by like the financiers. Like you'll see like liberals talk about this, like oh these rich guys who just like funded Hitler and then like got out of control, right? Like they thought he could like control them, and then like obviously they couldn't. And so it could be, I think we could be seeing like some kind of lesson like that, like Logan, the adult in the room is literally gone, and
oh,
now we have an election, and
interesting.
we're on the brink of fascism, basically.
Yeah, and there's no like Logan would be perhaps the only like counterweight, right? Like he's the only one who would have the authority to like rein Mencken in if his
Yeah.
policies or his
Although
movement
maybe
got
not.
too
I
out of
mean,
control.
because like Fox tries to liberate Trump in, and like it never works, right? Like that's happened, like that happened in 2016, like and after the
Yeah.
2021 January 6th, and like again in this election cycle where they were first like trying to promote DeSantis, and it looks like they've just given up and are just going to like head it to Trump again because it seems like there's nothing they can do. Um,
Yeah.
but either way, now that uh, yeah, Logan is gone, I think maybe this is what it feels the rest of the show, right? You have this sort of like actual political stuff in addition to
There's
the
a
kids and everything
vacuum,
else.
and yeah. So if it'll go straight into like the election, or it gets into now that Logan is gone, will the kids attempt to unite to stop Mencken from winning the election? Um,
Oh no, they won't.
well, yeah.
They don't have. I mean, they're not against Mencken. Like Kendall
Well,
doesn't
Shiv is
care.
against him. Kendall
Yeah,
doesn't care. Shiv is
that's
against him, and Roman is like I think vaguely supportive or kind of
yeah.
likes him,
That
uh,
seems right. Yeah,
which is like kind of
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, he Roman like was the one who wanted to bet on him from this. Like they were basically like deciding like which one to support, and Roman came to that understand. Roman is always like the one who has the people skills. Like he's also with the Gojo guy Matson, and he
Yeah,
that's all just him. And then the Mencken thing, that's also him. Um, yeah, so yeah, I mean we'll
yeah.
see if
He
that
gets along
goes
well
there.
with people. That's true. He was
Yeah,
also the only one to show any concern for Carrie, right? When Carrie suddenly bursts into the house
He does have a
during
good
the
heart, and he's the one
yeah
who seems most concerned about like their dad. Like he's the one who like if somebody says like it makes a joke, oh he's gonna croak. Like Matson does this at some point. He's like, hey, that's my dad you're talking about, right?
yeah.
He does
He
have
was the
like
only
a
one who continued to talk to Logan too, right? Like after the three attempted to take the company over in the last season, they all agreed not to talk to him, but Roman was the one who was still texting with
mm,
Logan and still kind of
yeah.
keeping the relationship going.
Yeah, he's the most
Um,
loyal. Like Shiv and Kendall at different points, like betray him or think about betraying him, but Roman never does.
yeah, I don't think
Maybe
he
he
ever
needs him,
would.
but yeah, he never does. He never wavers at all in that.
And now we see Kendall kind of, yeah,
Yeah,
we see Kendall
exactly,
betray Roman,
exactly.
right? Because Roman
Or
wouldn't. Yeah, yeah, no,
Exactly.
even in the one of the final scenes of this
Yeah, yeah.
latest
So
episode,
I'm
it's
agreeing
a
with you.
it's an example of what you're talking about, where like Kendall, I think, is mostly silent when who is it, Carolina, and who's the guy with like the big head
Hugo.
and the thin neck? Hugo, yeah. They're both, yeah, basically mapping out the strategies for how to like whatever manage like the board and what's going to happen with the company. And yeah, Roman, like they want to like undermine Logan's reputation and say that like, well, he wasn't really making any suggestions at the end anyway. He was kind of losing his bearings, and Roman hated this, and Kendall was kind of like, yeah, he kind of went along as like, yeah, this isn't right, and then he betrays them and goes to Hugo, and basically forces Hugo to go with that strategy implicitly because like right, Hugo basically told he basically told Kendall earlier in the episode that he was engaging in insider trading.
Yeah,
uh, and so Kendall has this blackmail on him, and now he's using it. And he sort of like became a killer, right? Like he's doing the thing that what did he say? He said, "This is what my dad would have done," or yeah, this is what he would have done, and like betraying his own brother and his family to do this, right? And using like blackmail to do so. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting what's happening with Kendall right now. Like Kendall's always been the one where he, especially in season one, right? Like you're kind of on his side until the end, and you kind of see his issues with addiction, and when he kills that waiter, um, in the car crash scene. But Kendall's always been like kind of the, I guess, like among the three, the obvious choice, but like maybe not exactly optimal. So like even the underline, like the whole like underline subplot, like did he underline the
yeah,
name or did he cross it out? It
yeah.
was so good.
It looks like it. What do you
Yeah.
think? What did you think? Did it look like an underline or a cross? We got a very close up and near the end.
I don't know. I want to say it was an I'll say it was an underline because if you're crossing something out and it's like kind of not clear, like you would just cross it out again, right? I don't know, because he kind of missed it. Like if it was going to be a cross out, he started underline and then like
Yeah,
halfway through crossed out. And if you want to cross something out, you would like go back or just like scribble it out or something.
that's a
So I
good.
think it was an underline.
That's a good
I don't
point. That's a
know.
good point. And we don't know the date either. Like this is the whole mystery. It feeds into we
Yeah.
don't know how he died. We don't know what he was thinking. We don't know whether this thing was old or new uh, or whatever. Um, yeah, and then and then they said that he had a Greg question mark next to it, and then Greg says, "Oh, I think that means I'm his number two." Sounds like he was trying to make Greg the successor. It seems like he was crossing out Logan and he was crossing out Kendall and putting in Greg.
That would be
It's,
hilarious if Greg yeah. Or I mean the other thing is like because Logan was kind of like coming in and out, right? Like he wasn't like perfectly mentally well. It could have just been him like screwing around and like maybe he did think that he crossed it out, but he didn't cross it out.
yeah,
And maybe Greg was just like a name that came to mind when he was in like a fugue state and wrote something down, and it's just like the whole thing is so unclear. Um so yeah, I think like that whole thing was like very well. I thought like yeah, like I thought that Frank and Carl were going to flush
yeah,
that document down the toilet. I thought it was over for that. Like oh yeah, they're gonna try to push these kids out. But no, they chose to at least attempt to honor what Logan was
yeah. Maybe he
perhaps
was going to go back
requesting.
to the document later. He underlined it to go back, like, oh, I got to go fix, like, I got to go to my lawyer and make sure it's not Logan, right, or it's not Kendall, right? I mean, we don't know.
Yeah.
There's an infinite number of possibilities. Yeah, I thought it looked like a cross out because, like, I don't know, like, it's hard to screw it up. It's sort of hard to screw it up. I mean, it's hard to screw up an underline that much. While a cross out, I think is maybe easy to screw up, but I don't know. Yeah, it's impossible, and that's the point. We're sort of and like Kendall's like staring at it. He's trying to make it out like exactly what it is, right? Um,
Yeah, on
and
his
so you're
phone too, right? Like he zooms way, way in on his phone, like trying to
yeah,
like I mean, I think like in a way this is like this is like Logan screwing with him from the grave. Even after he dies, Kendall still doesn't know if he had his approval or not, or if he thought he was a disappointment. Right? Like
yeah,
that will always be hanging over Kendall.
yeah,
And maybe that was like even that recognition was what the catalyst for him to go to Hugo and blackmail him and say like whether my dad thinks I'm like if he thinks I'm a failure then I'm going to prove him wrong, or if he chose me then I'm going to do what he would have done. Like either way he has this sort of reasoning to sort of bolster his confidence and do this thing to betray his brother and yeah, like start making moves to take over. Yeah, I don't know. Kendall is yeah, I don't know. I can never like fully be supportive of his character because of like how like just that waiter scene was so ugly, and his
Didn't he
he
try
was
to
so weak.
he tried to go back in, didn't he?
I don't.
He
Did he
says
try to
so.
go back in?
I rewatched the mother's
Mm.
wedding where he says that, like, he's crying, he's breaking down, and he's telling the siblings that he did it, and then says, I did go back and try to, and I think that's true. I think he did. I don't think the scene was that
I gotta
bad.
rewatch it. I gotta rewatch it. I don't know. I thought it was pretty like
I mean,
at
the
least
kid
in my
dies.
yeah he like, I don't think Kendall tried as hard as he could have, and then his sort of like self righteousness, like the way he there's that scene with his dad. I don't remember. It was it season two maybe maybe no, I think it was season three, where he's sitting down with Logan, right,
Yeah,
and he's like, the difference between you and me is like I'm not a bad person like you, and then Logan is like, how
yeah,
long was that kid underwater before he
yeah,
started
yeah.
sucking in, like filling his
Or,
lungs,
or the other thing, yeah,
and
when he
uh
becomes, yeah, exactly,
and
yeah,
so
and he
it's like,
becomes,
I don't know, that he won't acknowledge that he did this horrible thing, and like, I don't know,
and then he
but yeah,
adopts this
none of the
thing.
kids.
Yeah, and then he adopts this thing about, like, I'm the defender of liberal democracy. Did you see? You remember this scene where, like, he goes into? They try to go into his when he has that big ridiculous, like, I think it's 40th birthday party. I don't know what year. It might have been
Oh
40th. I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
know
yeah,
how
yeah.
old he was, but they come in and he has like a treehouse part, and then Shiv and Roman are trying to get in, and he goes, "You can't get in because you love Nazis. You love Nazis, and I'm a defender of liberal democracy, so
Oh
you
yeah, I
cannot come
remember
in."
that. That was so stupid.
So he
Yeah.
became like this righteous, like, this guy. He started talking about climate change. He became this righteous guy, like, after he had a falling out
He's
with
also a
his dad.
deadbeat dad, right? Like he has
Yeah,
an ex-wife, Rava, and like two kids that we see him like hang out with his kids a couple times in season one, and then I don't think we ever see them again. Like maybe once
yeah,
since then.
that's
So
true.
he's
He's not
kind of
alone.
like he's not a I don't know. He's not a very capable person, I think. Um but yeah, I don't know. Neither is Roman, right? Like I wouldn't surprise. Like honestly, it probably should be Jerry. Like in the real world, if you want that company to survive, it should be like one of the old guard, not one of these kind of screw up kids. But
Yeah.
yeah, it'll be cool to see where they go with this.
The I have we ever talked about why his ex-wife is supposed to be Indian? She's very light skinned, but then the daughter of
Hmm.
Kendall is like very dark.
Okay, is
Yeah.
she Indian? I didn't know
Well, you,
this.
you called her Rava. I forgot her name. Rava. That sounds like an Indian
Yeah, yeah.
name.
Is Rava? And I thought she was like, I don't know, Jewish or something.
Yeah, maybe. I don't
Rava
know. I don't know Jewish names very well. Uh,
Rava Roy. I don't know. She looks like, I don't know, like a kind of a swarthy white person, but I
yeah,
don't
I
know
mean,
what
I think
Rava,
so.
the
I think
origins of
so
that.
too. I think so too. Well, her real name is Natalie Gold. So I think, yeah, I think Rava. What kind of name?
Yeah, Natalie Gold. Okay, well, I'll look up Natalie Gold. Oh, it
Well, Gold, I
doesn't have any
assume, is
information.
Jewish. Rava is an Italian origin surname. Well, a surname, but that's not her first name.
Okay.
Rava is an Indian term for, okay, I don't know.
Yeah.
Rava is a boy's name from Babylonia. Okay, Rava. No, okay. There's so many Ravas here that I'm finding online. But well, anyways, the point is, why is
Yeah.
the daughter is really dark, doesn't she? Isn't she?
Yeah. I didn't really notice. Yeah, I don't remember. I only remember Logan like punching the sun with the can of the can of the ocean spray cranberry sauce. I don't remember the daughter, what she
Oh,
looked
okay.
like.
So I'm looking at Reddit right now, and they say she was adopted by them.
Oh, interesting. Okay, that sounds like something Kendall would do for like
Hold on. Does it show
social
if she
credit.
was? No, no.
Yeah, that sounds like
I made up. So no, it's just somebody made up this theory. But no, they're
okay.
both white, and she looks like an Indian. I'm surprised this didn't strike you. I mean, it was struck me when every time I saw her. I'm like,
I
why is this girl so
mean,
dark?
sometimes those things can happen, right? Like Meadow Soprano, right? Like,
What?
sometimes two white
No,
people can have
but she's very.
slightly swarthy.
You're not remembering. Look her up because you're not remembering how dark
What's
those
her
girls
name? I don't
are.
know. What
Sophie Roy.
Kendall Roy, Sophie
Look at so.
Roy.
Oh my God! Yeah, I'm looking at her now. You probably
Oh,
didn't.
you're right. Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, that's oh yeah, yeah. And then uh yeah, that's interesting. That's got to be adoption, right? Like
I think so.
Yeah, that's
But
not.
that's why I was hung up on maybe the ex-wife
And
is Indian.
her name is like the actress Swayam Bhatia. Like, yeah, she's clearly yeah, clearly Indian. Okay, so she's got, but Rava, is Rava Indian? She looks very like, I don't know. Yeah, just like a kind of a tan white person. But okay, well, I think for me the theory that they adopted her works well because yeah, Kendall goes through his phases of like self righteousness and wanting to be seen as this good person, and this is like a way for him to convince himself that he's not like his dad. Or like despite his ambitions, he's still at heart like, oh, we adopted this. He can always tell himself that too, that they adopted this girl. I don't know. Yeah, that is
Yeah,
interesting. I this did not register to be. Yeah, I'm not as like primed to notice as race.
yeah.
Yeah, I
I
didn't
thought you would have
notice
been.
those.
Yeah, I thought you were a keen
Uh,
observer of
no,
politics
not.
and race and our.
I
Yeah,
I
I
should
can't
have.
believe, and I'm surprised. Like I'm googling this, it's all Reddit. Like nobody's even talking about this, but when you look at her, you see like nobody is like, uh,
No one acknowledges
yeah,
why.
nobody's
Yeah.
talking about it, whether this is strange. Uh,
Hmm.
rather, let's see.
Yeah, there's no way. Rava, yeah, Rava is a white person. Like, yeah, I think she's Jewish. There's no way that she's Indian. Um, yeah, I don't buy that. Yeah, this is an adoption scenario.
Yeah. Okay, but yeah, it's weird that nobody ever talks about it. Let's see. Uh, yeah, it's weird. It's a weird thing because they're maybe they're introducing it for another show. I would say they're just introducing like weird diversity. Like race doesn't exist. Anyone could have any kind of child at like any moment. But
Race
like this
doesn't
show doesn't do
exist.
that. You know, this show
The
doesn't
baby
do that.
lottery.
Yeah, maybe lottery. They could come out any way possible. But yeah, this show does. This is not the kind of show to do that. They seem
Yeah.
to be very they're bucking a lot of
Mm.
trends on this race stuff. And so yeah, I wonder.
It could have been
Uh,
one of these things where in season one they
maybe
were
he
going
got
to do
cucked.
something
Maybe
with him.
Kendall is a loser and he got cucked by
Kendall got cut.
some swaggering
Dude,
Indian in the perfect
okay,
world.
okay, here we go. This is like Reddit level conspiracy. It's Stewie's kid.
Yes,
Yeah,
perfect. That's
yeah.
perfect,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah. And Kendall doesn't even know. Or maybe he does know. He suspects it, but
That's
this
why
is
he's a
gonna
deadbeat
like
father. That's why he's
yeah,
never around. He
exactly.
can't
He
stand to look at
abandoned
them.
them because but he's still kind of weirdly friends with Stewie. Like in the latest episode, he cries. He literally cries on Stewie's
Yeah,
shoulder.
yeah.
But maybe he likes that. Maybe he like pays Stewie
Oh,
to
here
have
we
sex
go.
with his
Here we go
wife.
again. This is White Lotus all over again.
The he has the yeah he like he's so full of self-loathing because of his addiction issues and the way he was treated
Yeah.
by his dad that he pays Stewie to make love to Rava. And yeah, this will come back around.
Oh
Stewie's going
my
to use this information to take Kendall out and take over Waystar
God.
Royco.
Yeah. Because it was striking to me when he hugs because you never see him like that. Like you never see like an old friend who he actually like has like a genuine friendship with that like he'd cry on his shoulder. That was like I knew him and Stewie were friends, but I never thought it was like that like it was seems like the rare, very real relationship he has. So yeah, I
Yeah. Well,
mean,
it's not even clear they're friend. Like it's the closest thing Kendall has to a friend, but it's not even clear. Like there was a scene where Kendall has some sensitive information and he wants to tell Stewie, he's like, I can trust you with this, like on a business level. And Stewie was like, no. And he's like, well, can I trust you with it on a personal level? And Stewie's like, also no. And then Kendall just tells him anyway. Um,
but
and then there's
isn't that
like,
more of a friend that yeah, he tells him straight up, you can't trust me. I'm
you
gonna
can't
use
trust me,
this.
like as a
Yeah,
friend. I
I'm gonna
mean,
well, plus he's a business guy too, and so it's
yeah,
like
I get like maybe there's an element of respect there that he doesn't try to screw Kendall. Yeah, I guess like a real sort of Machiavellian move would be like, yeah, of course you can trust me, and then betray him. So yeah, I guess. I mean, yeah, I mean he is like yeah, he's the closest Kendall has, but yeah, he has no one else. Yeah, the daughter. I wonder if they were going to do something with that, like season one. You know, sometimes this happens where they'll like introduce like different threads, different characters, different people, and then like as the story moves forward, things get dropped off, or they the audience responds more to some things than others, and the writers explore those avenues more. But yeah, I wonder if they were going to do something with like Kendall and
maybe
Rava's
that's
relationship and
yeah.
adoption.
Maybe that's the point. Like they're so self-centered. He's like such a like dad. He's like he doesn't care. He might have got cucked. He might have. She might be adopted. Like we don't know because like
Kendall
he
get
talks so little and cares so little about his
this
children.
is
He just has like children of different races just walking around and like nobody bothers to even like Logan doesn't ask. Like nobody even bothers to like explain what's going on.
That is that an article that's like a Reddit level article. Did Kendall get cucked? And then like, go
Yeah.
through scene by scene, like all the episodes with Stewie, like
It
like
is
the
really
body
this show.
language.
This show gets so much like attention in the media. It's just really like I mean I'm just doing a quick Google search, but like it should come. Something should come up where people are speculating about this, but it's just
The
Reddit. I mean,
daughter.
there's no like the mainstream articles are not talking about it at all.
Well, maybe they're afraid to talk about it, right? Like any kind of like if it's race related, they're just like people are going to be sent. Like I don't see like people at the New York Times or like Vanity Fair like
I don't think
broaching
they're
this
that
topic.
clueless. Uh, you know,
Well, I
uh,
think like personally they're going to observe it maybe, but like in terms of writing a piece about it, I don't know if they're going to want to, you know, like touch anything like that sensitive, right?
I
At least
mean,
not anyone white
you
is going to
think
want to talk about
I
it.
think they. I mean, I don't know. I don't think they're that. They're that. I don't think they're. No, I don't think they're that. Well, you didn't see it. I mean, so look at you. You're not.
It's maybe
You're not
maybe they
some
didn't even
liberal on
notice. I
this.
didn't notice. I didn't
Well,
notice either.
how
Maybe
do
we're
I don't know
just
how.
as
Yeah, I'm just the most racist person alive. Yeah, I noticed this.
or we're just as self I'm just as self-centered as Kendall. Where like I didn't even notice, right? Like
Yeah.
well
Yeah.
what ethnicity is Shiv's baby going to be? What's the
Oh,
ethnic
well, who's
background
the?
of
Well, wait a minute. Does the timing work? Okay, so yeah, we want to talk about Shiv's baby. Does the timing work that it's that it's Tom's?
I thought that it's supposed to be Tom's. I mean, it would we don't well, it would be weird if the show
No,
hasn't
it would be a
shown
perfect way to screw over. Tom wanted children with her, and she never
right.
does
It
it.
was a
And
big
then like
part of last
he
season.
leaves her, and she gets pregnant like the next day.
That would
Like,
be
that
that would
would
be
be like
amazing if she had a
that would
kid with someone else just to fuck with Tom. Like that would be
not just
horrible.
you. It could be like my biological clock. It's like something like these women have like this. She just had like a revulsion to carrying Tom's baby, I guess, and then like a
Yeah.
kid, like her desire to be a mother. It'd be more
And then
complicated that she's just screwing with him,
it's
which I doubt. It's just screwing
yeah.
with him. It would be more psychologically complex than that. Then Tom's gone, and she realizes her biological clock is
Maybe
ticking.
she tells him it's his kid. Maybe she tells Tom it's actually your kid, and it comes out and it looks like Sophie
Stewie again.
Roy, and it's actually
It's
Stewie
Stewie again.
who's
He's
been
pregnant.
like
Every baby,
slowly
and then we
seeding all of the Roy
And then we find out
family.
Logan's last girlfriend also pregnant. It's also
Carrie
it's,
Carrie
so
gives birth to a little
stupid.
brown baby,
It's all just Stewie.
and then at the
Connor,
end,
yeah,
Stewie takes over.
he cucks everyone on the show. And it's just
What if
Stewie
Carrie's
is just
pregnant? Oh, that would be so interesting.
because he was
Probably
trying to get her
not.
pregnant. They talked about that. Remember?
Yeah, I remember this. They wanted to have
Yeah,
a kid. Yeah, yeah. Carrie comes in, bursts into tears. There was that weird. There was that kind of interesting. I mean, it wasn't that interesting, but like very obvious symbolism where she's trying to go upstairs to like go into Logan's room or something, and they're preventing her from ascending up. Right, like they
yeah,
block her ascent, like literally. And she like was like one day she had everything. She was like on top of the world, like whatever, the
yeah,
richest man on earth. And then the next, she's like literally nobody. Like yeah, it's like yeah, she was falling apart there. Um, but yeah, so Shiv, I think it's probably Tom's kid because we don't see Shiv with anyone else. Like it would just kind
right.
of random if she's like, "Oh, I'm pregnant," and with this guy that the audience has never seen before. I don't know if Succession would work that way, where it would
Yeah,
reveal a pregnancy and then we discover the father is someone that has never appeared in the show.
yeah. So I
I
think the
mean,
timing. I think the timing works because they
yeah,
break up at the end of season. It seems like at the end of season three, where Logan makes decides to do the deal with Gojo, and then we're doing the deal with Gojo, and so like I think I don't think a lot of time passes between season three and season four. It might have been.
I think
Um,
it was like literally like
it,
not matter of weeks or maybe months at most. Not
yeah,
months. Yeah,
it
I
could have
think
been. It
more
could have
like
been days. It could
weeks.
have been days. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to go back and see where they sort of
Yeah,
the
it couldn't have been
because
months.
yeah, it could have been. I don't know. Was the election primary over? So we can maybe time it
Yeah.
based on
Well, Shiv
the ele-
looks a little bit heavier too. So this is something that I notice when women gain a little bit of weight. I'm pretty good at tracking that. And Shiv, she looks like she's carrying a little extra water. And so yeah, I mean she could be
oh,
like 6 to 8 weeks. Yeah.
but but no. Now
Yeah.
that I'm thinking about the election stuff, we didn't know what the election. We weren't hearing anything about. I think the general election at the end of season three. I think we were still sort of in the primary. If that's
Hmm.
correct, then the timing wouldn't work. But we have to sort of we have to go back to make sure. So yeah, a lot depends on this because this will determine whether. No, because it can't be immediate. Season 3 and season 4 can't be immediate because they've been separated for a while. Like you could tell when Logan, when Tom
Hmm.
and
Well,
now
what
we don't
does
know
a
how long.
while mean?
Yeah, we
Like, what
don't
does a
know. That's
while
the thing.
mean? Like,
That's the
it
thing.
could
So it's,
be.
it's not like it's
I
not
think
like one
six
day between.
weeks.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah,
It's not one day between. So we know that much between season
yeah.
3 and season 4.
No.
Uh,
But I think the timing works. You don't know. I'm literally basing this on Shiv's weight, where she looks like very. It's very subtle, but she's heavier. She has a bit more of a
maybe
double
the
chin
actress just
going.
gained weight and they said
She
like we have to do
fell.
something.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, now when she fell, we know she got pregnant, right? Like that came after the knowledge reveal. But ever since this season, I'm like, she looks a little different. Um, so I think, yeah, the timing. She's also more. Well, yeah, I don't know if she's more emotional. That's always hard to tell. But she
uh,
does seem like a bit more hormonal
yeah. Well, maybe the actress just
this
gained weight and they're
scene.
like, what are we gonna do with this? And we're okay. Let's just make her pregnant.
Maybe she's actually pregnant. Sometimes they do this, right?
Yeah,
Like they write
yeah,
in pregnancies in shows. So maybe the
yeah.
actress was actually pregnant during this
Well,
time, and they decided
I'm
to
interested
turn it into a.
in the timing of this because it's going to be the election's a few weeks away. Are we going to be 9 months in the future? Are we going to be long enough to see
Oh,
Shiv
to see the
really get
baby.
pregnant and the baby getting born? It's like a thing that hey, because if so, we're going to be well after the election. We're going to be after the inauguration of the next president. Um,
Hmm.
and we'll see like that would I think back up the idea that this is going to be like a very like this might have something to do with politics. I don't know, maybe not. But it does add a sort of a timing thing because if she just ends up like the show just ends with her pregnant and like she never has the baby. I think that's a loose thread. It seems like that's something that really needs to be sort of maybe she loses the baby or whatever. But there it does seem to be like
Oh,
that
yeah.
thread has to like be close somehow.
Yeah, where she reconciles with Tom. They're kind of doing this right now, I think, where they're. I think it's possible they'll
Yeah, it's possible.
I
Tom is
think
sort of
so. They're putting us in this interesting because so remember Tom tries to sort of reconnect with her where he like tells her remember that time I think he was like we were in Paris and I gave you my sweater or something and she's clearly like emotionally responsive to what he's talking about but then
yeah.
her eyes are tearing up and she gets up and walks away and says oh that was a long time ago but I think like Tom still feels for her. She clearly has feelings, right? Otherwise, she wouldn't have cried and wanted to get away from him because she's feeling something for him still. So I think I put it like above 50% chance that they'll reconcile before the
Yeah.
finale.
I wonder
Um,
what else could happen to Tom though. I mean, yeah, because Logan was his guy, and Logan is like he's
Wait a
got
minute, was
no
it
flex.
Carl who just like ripped ripped Tom
Yeah,
apart
yeah.
about like you're kind of a screw up, like you're kind of a clown,
I don't know
he's a
why he's a
yes
script
man.
though. I thought he did I thought he took control of like the primetime stuff, and apparently like
ATM.
they accuse him of like playing to Nazis or whatever. But it looks like he did a good job. So it seems like he's competent. It doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like there's any reason to think he's actually doesn't know what he's doing. Um,
Yeah, well, you can't even get to that position, right? Like, because he's an outsider, but he still managed to work his
yeah.
way up.
Yeah, if he
I think,
doesn't
yeah, Tom is
reconcile with Shiv,
capable.
I wonder what else is there for Tom to do. I mean, like he's still got 6 or 7 episodes left. He's got. I think he's too big to just. I think him and Greg like I looked at the promotion for season 4, and I just looked at who was in it. It was Logan, it was the 4 kids, including Connor, and then it was Greg and Tom. Right? These are like it's the family, and then Greg and Tom are like the sort of the subplot of the whole thing. The series I think begins with Greg. It might have begun. I don't know. The opening scene you say is Logan peeing in the closet, but then the whole first episode or so, like the first like start of the series focuses on Greg, right? He's just like sort of finding his way into this world, and
Yeah,
we're following. He's been sort of our eyes. The audience is seeing it through Mister Normal, Greg, um, and so yeah, I mean, I think there has to be some kind of Greg and Tom are not minor characters. Like I think something sort of has to so they have to get somewhere at the end of all this.
yeah, that is interesting. Like Greg, Logan kind of had a soft spot, I think, for Greg, and so it's kind of unclear now what's going to happen with him. Tom kind of mentored Greg, and like they had that sort of whatever conflicted love hate relationship, but he kind of took him along under his wing. And now, if Tom and Shiv are done, then like Greg loses his connection, Tom kind of loses. Yeah, I think they're gonna retain some ties. I think with the firm. Yeah, so I guess this is like another like further evidence. I think that yeah, Tom and Shiv will reconcile, or at least like whatever, like settle into like an open marriage or something, which is which is what Shiv suggested when they first got married. Yeah, like that. Yeah, I don't see that just like them going off. Or I guess the other option is because Shiv was pushed out by her brothers, um, Shiv, Tom, and Greg somehow unite. I don't know, like try to recruit Jerry. Like they basically like try to go into battle against
Yeah.
Kendall and Roman, right? Because like that's what the show thrives on is like all these little power plays, all of these little cliques and factions trying to undermine one another, and people trying to curry favor and gain power. Yeah, I don't see like Shiv just sort of gently becoming pregnant and going quietly. I don't think she's gonna like cede this ground to her brothers that easily.
Yeah. Well, Shiv is always sort of like her role in the entire show has been to sort of always sort of like really on the outside. Because all the hierarchy is always sometimes Kendall is top and sometimes Roman is on top, but you never feel that Shiv is really on top. But so maybe that's the way it ends, or maybe it ends up that she's like it's in the end a feminist triumph, and she does somehow outmaneuver these two brothers. I'll just say, I mean, I guess
Mm.
we'll go, but I think that I think I really dislike Kendall. I think I share your instinct. I just hate him for how weak he is. I hate this like my dad never loved me, and so now like my entire relationship is like trying to like even the way like he's doing. He's not like doing it because like he's actually a killer or anything. He's just doing it because my dad. It's like I still need to gain his approval like beyond the grave, and like it's what he would have
Yeah.
done. Like the entire justification for it is just very very pathetic. While Roman, even though he's like a sexual deviant and stuff, he's more mentally stable, and he sort of knows who he is, and he like has loyalty to the family. I mean, I think that the way Roman is screwed up is to me much more sympathetic than the way Kendall is screwed up.
Well, Roman is evidence that you can be a sexual deviant in your private life, but publicly be a very competent and highly capable person, right?
Yeah,
Like if you want to shave your
well,
head and grow a mustache and dress up
gr-
like a dog in your private
yeah,
life,
yeah, great news for
uh,
the Department of Energy. Yeah,
exactly.
the government will be
Yeah,
using
for
that
the
as
real world
promotion.
version of Roman Roy. Uh, yeah. Roman is they did an interesting job with him because he's become more sympathetic as the show has gone on, right? Because the very first time you see him in like a sexually deviant act is when he has the waiter call his girlfriend, and then while the phone is vibrating he makes love to her, and like this is like his way of like I guess asserting dominance and like sort of
Does
what
he make
digitally
love? Does he actually have
cucking.
sex? Because he never. That's the point. He
You
he
never
can't.
actually see him penetrate her, but you see like
Uh,
them like making out and like in the high rise, and like I guess it's implied this is about to be what's going to go down, but Roman is clearly getting off on the fact that like the waiter is calling her over and over, and he can't have her, and only Roman can have her.
yeah,
So
I guess
and like at
channeling
first it's
his.
kind of mean, but
Yeah,
now it's like I don't know. Roman is, I mean, among the three siblings, he's the one you'd want to hang out with, right? Like Kendall is so dour,
yeah.
and Shiv is like,
That's why
they're
everyone
like
wants to hang out
layers
with
of
him. Yeah, that's why
irony.
that's why Matson wants to be around him. Nobody really wants
Yeah,
to be around uh, Kendall. Yeah,
Roman
maybe
is fun, right?
of course. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
the Kendall birthday party also. I thought I watched that episode again. That was really funny. That was really well done. It really just sort of demonstrates what a lunatic he is. And then
yeah,
Kendall, maybe Roman channels his problems into the sexual sphere, which lets him behave more sort of normally in the rest of life. Right? Maybe there's something like that going on.
yeah. The history of Roman is like yeah, he's the one character like I think you can kind of build a show around, and yeah, I would probably watch it. Whereas the other two, I don't think. I don't know if we're saying like the other two, like we're completely ignoring Connor again, but yeah,
Yeah.
Connor is yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, we'll talk again then next time.
All right, next episode.
Bye.